Hello everyone. Our topic this week was requested by Isaac.Covey and Javier Zaragoza. We'll be going over the Space Marines from the Warhammer 40k franchise.
Space Marines, technically and officially known as the Adeptus Astartes, are almost certainly the most famous and well-known creatures from the 40k verse. If you've seen anything 40k related, you've probably seen indications of the Space Marines. They're the poster boys for the 40k franchise as a whole. They are the tip of the spear and the final bulwark for the Imperium of man's armed forces. They are not the rank and file, they are the Spec Ops, the Black Ops. Literally, the super soldiers you call in when you need the big guns. The Imperium envelops literally thousands of worlds within its borders, which means that it employs its standard military, foot soldiers, air and ground support, space fleet, etc., to secure and maintain the vast majority of its territory. Even if they wanted to, there are not physically enough Space Marines in the Imperium to protect that much galactic real estate. But when the Imperium really needs to bring the hammer down, they send in the Space Marines. And as one might expect of such a group, what the Space Marines lack in numbers, they make up for in the quality of each of the Astartes.
Space Marines are the Imperium's ultimate super soldiers. It's worth noting that humanity, as well as the other races of the 40k verse, have other super soldier programs, some of which in fact produce combatants of similar or greater power than that held by the Space Marines. But the Space Marines are the standard to which all other human bioengineering efforts are held. They are largely genetically stable, whereas most other alteration programs become increasingly prone to unwanted mutation over time. The Astartes are also comparatively resource efficient and assembly line friendly, whereas most super soldier programs that create stronger fighters are unreasonably time and or resource intensive by comparison. But what really sets Space Marines apart from most other super soldier programs, both human and alien, is the level of intense training they undergo, which, combined with their superhuman augmentations and some of the best gear the Imperium can provide, culminates in some of the galaxy's deadliest soldiers.
Astartes are not genetically modified in the traditional sense. Most fictions create super soldiers either by breeding them in a tank somewhere or putting them through some kind of procedure that alters their cellular structure to create some kind of Superman when it's done. 40k's Space Marines, on the other hand, are created through the use of the Gene Seed, a collection of 19 to 22, more on that discrepancy later, artificially created organs that are implanted into prospective Space Marines over the course of several years, each of which has an effect of its own, while also working together to modify the subject's body, pushing and prodding numerous genetic aspects to create the desired super soldier by the end of the program. As a result, the Space Marine creation process could be dubbed as either genetic alteration or something more akin to the creation of biological cyborgs, bioborgs, if you will, with equal accuracy. The reasons for the limited number of Space Marines in the operation throughout the Empire are threefold. First, there are logistical reasons. Outfitting legions of Space Marines is both expensive and time-consuming, not even counting the space fleet required to shuttle them around the galaxy. Second, there are socio-political reasons, more on that later. But third, and perhaps most importantly, the process required to become fully fledged Astartes is grueling and deadly. Those that both pass all the tests and are capable of surviving the gene seed implantation process are a fraction of the total applicants that are initially screened for service.
While the details are many and meticulous, candidates are initially chosen based broadly upon three criteria: genetic compatibility with the gene seed program, age, and military or combat accomplishment. The simple fact is that many humans are not genetically compatible with the gene seeds. It's superficially similar to real-life organ transplants in that the donor has to be compatible with the recipient or the body rejects the new organs, attacking and killing itself. As we'll go into later, different Space Marine chapters use different gene seed bases, so a candidate who rejects one set of gene seed might be compatible with a different set, but generally Space Marine chapters don't double dip into each other's recruitment pools anyway, so it's unlikely an individual will get more than one shot at the process. Younger candidates are generally preferred, ideally beginning in the 10 to 12-year-old range, both to let the Astartes indoctrinate the recruits from an earlier age, and because the body alteration functions for the gene seed work in tandem with the growth hormones and similar processes active in the human body during adolescence, meaning the earlier in that process you start, the greater the candidate's likelihood of survival. This age requirement, though, flies directly in the face of the Space Marine's last qualification category, combat experience. Astartes prefer to select candidates who have already begun to prove themselves as the best of the best, and in fact subject them to rigorous and dangerous tests before, during, and after gene seed implementation as their training goes on. Logically, it follows that the older, bigger, stronger children would do better during such tests, not to mention have more opportunity to prove themselves in battle prior to candidacy by simple virtue of time lived. But young candidates are presumably found regardless, and this is likely helped by the fact that many Space Marine chapters prefer to harvest recruits from comparatively unadvanced planets, as their harsher living conditions help temper potential recruits at earlier ages, and the lifelong dedication to service inherent in becoming one of the Space Marines allows them to handle whatever education gap is required.
Once a candidate has been selected, passed all initial tests, and been deemed compatible with the gene seed, the path to becoming a Space Marine truly begins. They are generally implanted with 3 of the gene seed organs initially, which lay the foundation to help their body grow in a manner to allow the acceptance of successive organs. Ideally, starting around age 10 and ending by age 18, with batches of organs being surgically implanted in stages over the course of that time. All the while, the candidate is trained rigorously, both body and mind, instilled with dedication to the God Emperor of Mankind, see our video on him here, and subjected to hypnotherapy, evidently a combination of training and brainwashing to further mold and train their minds, as well as strengthen their will in order to resist void corruption. See our video on the Chaos Gods here. And even gain a degree of control over the body's inner workings to more fully utilize their upgrades. They train in combat, weapons, strategy, teamwork, etc., as their bodies grow, assisted by the gene seeds. There is a fairly detailed list of what each of the organs do, but in simplest terms, when added together, the 19 base gene seed organs do the following. Add a second heart, increasing blood flow to the body and, providing a backup heart. Increase the blood's ability to carry oxygen, increase muscle and bone growth as well as reinforce the bones, increase the speed at which wounds close, helping prevent the likelihood of bleeding out, mitigate the likelihood of going into shock, reduce the need for sleep, and extends the length of time an Astartes can function on little to no sleep. Adds a third lung that increases oxygen intake, screens toxic gases, and even allows a Space Marine to breathe underwater, even without nifty tech. Renders them immune to all but the deadliest diseases and poisons, enhances their senses of vision, hearing, taste, and smell, allows their skin to adapt and become less absorbent of ambient radiation, also hardens the skin to a roughly modern-day bulletproof vest level durability. Keep in mind that they are both using and fighting things with much greater firepower than that, however. Their sweat protects them from environmental conditions, even hardening and sealing into vacuum-proof shells so that they can almost breathe in space even if their armor is penetrated. They can enter a state of suspended animation when near death in order to prolong their lives in hope of rescue. One set of organs helps generate future gene seeds that can be harvested from the Space Marine's corpse when they die, basically making sure nothing is wasted. And the 2 weirdest upgrades, acidic saliva, triggered on command, which can technically be used to spit acid, but is in practice designed to ensure that Astartes can chew, and theoretically digest, just about anything. Along with the ability to gain memories and knowledge from the devoured brains of the fallen, though most chapters seem to let that ability sit on the sidelines unused as much as possible.
The final 3 organs are only implanted into the comparatively new Primaris Marines, a newer, more advanced set of Space Marines made newer and more advanced primarily by the existence of these organs, along with other baseline improvements like even less likelihood of genetic mutation over time. Primaris Marines can be made just like normal Space Marines, but the process is newer and as such they are comparatively few in number. These last 3 organs add the following additional augmentations. Reinforced metal cables are fused with and grafted into Astartes muscle tissue, further increasing the Space Marine's strength and durability. An organ was added that can supercharge the Space Marines when in extreme danger, increasing their strength, resilience, healing ability, and more, basically sending them into overdrive, which will hopefully be enough to get them out of whatever danger they're in. The organ has an unspecified recharge time between uses, however, meaning it can't be activated back to back. The last and most important organ, though, is one that, simply, magnifies the function of all of the other gene seed organs. It literally exists to make everything else do its job better. This organ is also what makes it possible for regular Space Marines to undergo operations to become Primaris Marines, though the surgery has an uncomfortably high mortality rate. All Space Marines, both regular and Primaris, also have an extended natural lifespan, able to live and remain in combat health for upward of several hundred years. Their maximum life expectancy can only be speculated upon, though, as their combat-heavy existence tends to lend toward premature death long before natural causes ever have a chance to catch up with them. Additionally, only males can be converted into Space Marines. There are a handful of sometimes conflicted reasons for this, both in-universe and out, though it has been speculated by the fan base that considering the level of alterations made to the Astartes, the end resulting female Space Marines would likely be virtually indistinguishable from her male counterparts even if it were possible.
Organs and basic training complete, Space Marine cadets are then used in scouting squads led by highly experienced Astartes officers through their first several dozen or even several hundred missions, slowly gaining real-world experience under the watchful eye of some of the chapter's best soldiers. using the least impressive equipment at the chapter's disposal. Only when they've proven themselves are such cadets labeled full Battle Brothers and granted the standard power armor and heavier weaponry that they will have access to for the remainder of their lives. Even then, though, their training is incomplete. They will move up through more tiers of combat units, mastering a wide array of combat techniques in specialized groups over the course of years, decades, even centuries. Those who live long enough to become honored veterans are among the most practiced, skilled, experienced, and deadly warriors in the known galaxy. Astartes' power armor takes nearly all of their already impressive physical capabilities and dials them up to 11, increasing their strength, reaction time, and durability, while onboard sensors and heads-up displays track personal vitals, ammunition, real-time tactical information, protect and screen both vision and hearing, allows them to breathe from the atmosphere or switch to an internal oxygen supply. Along with onboard automated medical technology, suit-administrated food and drink, and more, Space Marines who prove themselves can look forward to a higher tier or even customized power armor. Additionally, while a wide variety of armaments are at the chapter's disposal, their standard issue weapon is some form of bolter, a heavy gun. Literally, some versions have enough of a kick that regular humans would need power armor to wield them, that fires high-caliber slug rounds designed to explode only after penetrating a target, maximizing damage. Other armaments range from chainsaw swords, energy or flame-wreathed blades, power hammers and claws, to heavier artillery such as rocket launchers, plasma weapons, and more.
The Space Marines can trace their roots back to the early days of the God Emperor of Mankind's rule. By the time he was uniting humanity, super soldiers of one stripe or another were common. The Emperor deployed the best and most powerful of these, called the Thunder Warriors, in order to help conquer and unify the Earth. These Thunder Warriors were the precursors to the Space Marines. Similarly powerful and in many cases even more impressive than modern Space Marines, the Thunder Warriors were, however, less genetically stable, dying or going mad as a side effect of the transformation not infrequently. They also had a distinct expiration date versus the Space Marines' theoretical nigh immortality barring death in battle. The Space Marines were developed to continue to act as humanity's protectors going forward once the Emperor had worked out the kinks and intentional control flaws he designed into the Thunder Warriors. As part of his plans for the future, the Emperor created 20 Primarchs. If the Emperor was a godlike being, then the Primarchs were demigods, each with tremendous power. The Space Marines were initially formed into 20 legions, each formed from the gene seed of one of these 20 Primarchs, with each legion inheriting traits from their parent Primarch as a result. Each legion numbered in the thousands, and after the Primarchs were kidnapped and subsequently found by the Emperor, each Primarch led his respective legion. At some point, about half of the Primarchs, their 1,000-strong legions in tow, betrayed the Emperor, setting off a massive civil war that ended in the death of nearly all the Primarchs, the incapacitation of the Emperor, and with all the traitor legions either banished, later to become Chaos Marines, or slain.
In the aftermath, realizing just how much devastation could be caused by those in power if they had literal legions of Space Marines under their control, the command structure of the Space Marines was decentralized and shrunk down. Of the remaining 9 or so loyal legions, each was split into chapters of no more than 1,000 Space Marines, with edicts to keep their numbers within that range. The loyal Astartes then continued with their mission, spreading across the Empire and protecting it. Most of the chapters spread thin, working in small groups in order to cover more ground. In the 10,000 plus years since this edict, more chapters of Space Marines were periodically founded, and most recently, with the advent of the Primaris Marine program, their numbers received a large boost. Primaris Marines had been put into stasis for thousands of years as the process was perfected, waiting for their deployment when the time was deemed right. Chapters that had lost many members had their ranks swelled to capacity. Entirely new Primaris Marine-only chapters were formed. But even with all of that, there are estimated to be only 1,000 active chapters in the galaxy as of the current time. At 1,000 members apiece, that comes out to be 1 million Space Marines patrolling the Imperium of Man. To give you an idea of just how few Marines that is in the grand scheme of things, the population of Earth today, the year 2020, just real-life Earth, is estimated to be 7.8 billion people. 1 million Space Marines comes out to be 0.0128% of Earth's current population. An organization numbering less than 0.1% of the total population of Earth is patrolling an empire spanning thousands of planets and tens of thousands of light years, and they're frankly doing a dang good job of shoring up whatever weak points the Empire's standard military can't handle. For the Emperor!
And that's basically the Space Marines. Super soldier defenders of the 40k verse. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave us a like and maybe share it with someone you know might like it. If you have ideas for videos you'd like to see in the future, do like Isaac.Covey and Javier Zaragoza and let us know in the comments down below. If you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, be they lore, let's play, or other, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
In the meantime, this has been
True Masters Morons, signing off.